in the month of September. Would you note, have you noted that? Yes, September, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Wow. Therefore, it's October, 3 months ago. It was just Happy New Year 2023. And I know some of you, or most of you, may have had so many experiences that you would not want to relive. Or if you do relive, would you relive it better? And how would you cope if it comes up again? And these are real issues that we need to look at in terms of grief and loss, or loss and grief. Last week was it that we looked at insidious trauma, insidious grief. There's always that constant apprehension which creates the anxiety because we always wondering what if. And the negativity context is always there to make us feel, well, okay, yes, what if? So what if I don't pay my rent, and what if I don't buy the food, and what if I don't get paid, and what if I get an accident, and what if what happened to my mother happened to me, what happened to Granny happened to me. And we continuously are surrounded by that kind of thought pattern that begs the consciousness to really be imploding with negative thoughts and creating scenes that always mitigate who we are. It's important to note that when we are looking at that context of grief, even if we look at grief as a event, that's a word. A fire in a house, a car crash, a death, nothing that is pending in terms of a continuum. But if we look at that, we can still see that how do I want to live tomorrow? Or how do I want to engage in anything? Because I have this particular loss. So whether insidiously or whether instantaneously, the mind captures that loss and reacts, the body reacts out of the context of all that is happening negatively in the mind as to not having, or having been pushed into a position where you weren't planning to be. And I think that is one of the key things about grief and loss. We are put in places where we didn't plan to be. And I know we hate that. People don't rush me. Don't plan for my life. But yet, incidents plans for your life, situations plans for your life, death plans for your life. Because all of a sudden, it's all mayhem. You're just doing everything you're not supposed to do. And that sometimes threatens your future, because now what am I supposed to do when I wasn't planning for this? I didn't plan for this experience. I didn't plan for this sickness. I didn't plan. And so we're always wondering how. And so this broadcast, I want to look at that word resilience. I want to see how we can be a little more resilient in terms of how we handle, whether it's insidious or whether it's instant, whether it's instructed, whether it's an event. How do we work out this? So how do I get through to my next day? Sure. How do I get through my next hour? How do I bring myself to face and accept what is? How? And that's important. Now, the key things about resilience in context of any trauma is that when something happens to you, there is going to be an onslaught, bad word, there's going to be a lot of persons around you asking questions, wondering why it happened, what happened, and then they want to know about you. How do we define those questions? How do we bring ourselves in the midst of trying to define mentally the loss? Now I have to find answers to questions I do not know the answers to. What it is? The bird dead, the car mash up, the house burned down. You ask me, what happened? How it burned down. How do I relate to those questions? How you feeling? You okay? Excuse me, the house burned down, the dog dead, the bird dead. I am dealing here with a loss. But there are people out there, many people, phone ringing, door knocking, who want to know more about me and what the situation is. I am not ready to give those answers. I'm not ready to involve myself in that kind of situation. I want to talk to anybody? No. I cannot yet bring myself to talk. I'm going to have a whole concept of silence. I do not want to talk. I want to identify with what I don't have anymore. So I have to learn how to work out an emotion exactly in order to be polite and to be safe, working within that environment where I have to survive the situation of loss and thrive with the reality of the questions. You understand that? So I have to survive my loss. I have to go beyond the loss, but yet I have to thrive with my friends and family members who are calling on you and asking several questions. It is important to know, how do I survive? But I would know what is survival, especially if it's the same day or even the next day. I do not know how to thrive with all of you, because there's so many, and the issue is too, that every day the same question comes. Every day the same question comes. You know, how are you? What to do? Oh. And I'm learning to work with it. It is important to find that getting through questions. How do I get through? How do I work towards trying to work out this word resilience? Because I need to come to a place where I am comfortable working in this lost environment. I have to learn now to find a way to acknowledge and work through that loss. Is anybody willing to help me, or they just want to find out what's wrong with me? How are doing? Why this happened? How was she there? How did the car crash? Who left on the stove? Excuse me, I need to be helped in finding a space to work out the loss. So it's important for me to see how I can really begin to think of surviving without, and learning to accept you. So I need to learn how to listen and be accommodating, yet I have to learn to listen and to really establish my own base of comfort. It's important to understand, how am I going to therefore work out the loss and the people without making decisions that I want to make. It is told that you're not in a good space to make a decision, but I still have to make it. There's still some things that has to be done, whatever the loss is. I have to learn that I have to be rather pliable in order to work with all these personalities, from family to friends to co-workers, etc. I have to learn to work with those personalities. I have to learn to work with the peril and the promise. The peril of loss, the promise of a future. These people want to represent the promise. I can help you. What can I do? But how do you mesh that with what I don't have? And it's important for me to appreciate and to adapt to what is being said and done in order to go forward, to champion the cause. It's a very interesting life when we think about this word resilience, when we think about getting back into that place where I can, in a very short space of time from the loss, breathe and be able to connect with humanity. It's important for me to see how people want to help, do not know how to help. People are sometimes dealing with these losses and do not know how to really carry me through that pain of loss? How do I make new discoveries to go forward? Because you see, when I make new discoveries, that supports my context of resilience. That helps me to be a little more firmer. It's important to note that we are looking basically at how to interpret crisis from a very, a critical position. Because it is critical. Loss is always critical. It's not having or not doing, not having and being without is very critical. Because we are always people who want to be self-sufficient, sufficing, always having, always happy. It's always there. Where we don't have, there's a crisis. There's a base crisis of critical mass. How do I go to get it from? Where am I going to get it from? Where am I going to get this from? I want this. Where's my father? And how do I translate the emptiness and the void to continue where I'm going? So we have to learn how to define function as we go along. How do we define function? How do we work out that function? I know that we are really imperatively well. What am I to do? What's expected of me? Well, in the culture of our days, you expect to look sad, forlorn, bawling, disheveled out of it. If any of you who have a loss look very upright and composed, people say, you're hiding. Be real. What's going on? Process. Open up. Confess. Cry it out. There's some people who are practically normal in times of loss because they may have learned at a particular level of contextualizing loss to behave with that control. It's not that they're not grieving or they may not be sad, but it's not apparent to you. And we have to learn how to make that most apparent in how we are going forward, how we are working out this new behavior. I want us to see the issue here of really looking at the individuals around us and seeing who might be best fit to make me what I want to be or to help me feel the way I want to feel. It may sound biased, it may sound like it's not real, but it's how you have to work. Because all the people around you have ideas of how you should eat, stand, sleep, pray, assess, call, get help. But there's somebody there who particularly has meaning to your own life. And we have to learn how to reach out and work with that person. How to realize that person is going to help you above any other existing danger. That means there's not going to be any personality clashes or dysfunctional behavior in terms of how the ideas, but we'll be able to sing together. And I want to encourage you that is so important as we go along. It's important to know that those things are real. And they're not just temporal, but they are constantly working out how we are to go forward and what we are to do. I want us just to realize that as we speak of resilience, it is not just about fitting into a chair. It's about learning to adapt to a new chair. It's about, with that chair, there's so many other dynamics and paradigms that come to you that makes you always want to reassess and wonder, am I okay? Am I right? Am I thinking okay? Yes, you are thinking okay. Yes, you are right. But you have to learn to put yourself into that space where you can function. And that is what resilience is all about. The first part, there are several other factors that we can look at resilience in terms of how to be wandering and how we are to be establishing the future. It's important for us to note that where we are going is important to be an example. That just came to my mind actually, because I didn't think of the example so much, but we really have to learn that we are still being watched. And somebody going to say something next year about, oh, you saw her with the husband and how she behaved, or how she didn't, or he behaved. So we always trying to protect ourselves. So here you have a loss, here you try to resilient, you try to work out the loss and the people around you in terms of thriving and striving, and yet you try to work out your own personality to make sure you're contained. So how do I continue to work out those self-emotions, my emotions, whether I'm accustomed to be violent or angry or frustrated or impetuous? How am I going to control that in the midst? If I shout, they might say it's because you lost, you had a loss. But shouting might be something I've been doing for years. And shouting is something I might want to use now to get my space or to make people move away from me, because it's who I am. So I'm bringing you into a picture where you still have to identify your own personality and how you are working that personality in the midst of all the other people around you to find out this new word, resilience. It's important, you know, excuse me. How do we define that growth? How do I intend to go from stage to stage or from day to day? How do I want to continue to develop as a human? Loss does not stop your human growth. Loss does not stop your purpose. Loss does not stop your living. Loss does not stop the blessings. Loss does not stop anything else. And this thing that has been lost has stopped. But somehow we tend to want to be stopped, or we stop because we feel we can't continue without that particular item. I use the word item, whether it's a human, a dog, or a house, whatever. We think that that's where our living is. And we really have to learn how to build a little more confidence within our own selves and begin to see what we have in us is important and necessary and very dynamic and real in taking us forward. How do I work this? And I want to help you here. I think we'll have to continue this in the next session. How do I work this from stage? I really want to put a stop here and see how it's relevant. How do I let me be? I have had a conversation recently about loss in my life, and people saying, you seem to be not addressing it, because here you are laughing and going ahead, and life seems to be normal. Because there was no disruption. And that's a good word. There was no disruption. Firstly, the people who died did not disrupt me, my plans, my future. They were disrupted some days to plan or to regroup burials and refocusing and reestablishing of things. But it did not affect me as a person. So I don't feel a loss. And to some people, that is callous. It's unreal, but it's real to me. See, when I could realize that what's happening there, the loss of that bird is ineffective to me. I'm fine, I get another bird. Now, I can't get another parrot, but I can establish that the parrot has been successfully, or has successfully worked in my life and developed into who I am. So I don't have to feel that I have lost anything. And those are some things that we have to learn in our going forward. How do we establish ourselves going forward when we can be real in our own experiences and with our own personalities and not feel that how we behave is contradictory to how the culture thinks we should behave? We all grieve differently. We all have different interpretations of personalities. We all are different. Therefore, let's see how we can work that. I'll stop here today, and we could we'll continue on this resilience and add up something else to it as we go along to help you to really define in terms of how you make yourself adaptable and come into that place where you can find new possibilities for your future and establish that peace within your environment. Dr. Nye is saying it was a good evening. Dr. Nye is saying it's a good day. Dr. Nye is saying it was a good time. Learn to be you, even in loss, and allow yourself to just let people know, hey, I am handling me without the loss. Thank you.